I overheard my wife telling her friend, "I'm preparing a divorce plan to hit him where it hurts." Part 1. I had a gut feeling my spouse was gearing up to end our marriage, so I quietly safeguarded my wealth. 2 weeks later, she initiated divorce proceedings only to retract when her scheme unraveled. Greetings everyone. Before we dive into today's video, I need your support. We've noticed a dip in the channel's momentum, and hitting that subscribe button is a fantastic way to help us out. It's free, takes a second, and keeps us creating content you love. Your encouragement means the world. Let's grow this community together. Thank you so much. Now let's get into the video. Hey there. I've been lurking in these forums for ages, never imagining I'd have a story to share. But life throws curveballs, and I've been carrying this weight for months. I need to get it off my chest. To be clear, I'm not one to assume the worst or leap to wild conclusions. My wife, let's call her Elle, and I had been together for 6 years, married for 4. Things seemed rock solid, or so I believed. We had our share of highs and lows, but nothing screamed trouble. Honestly, for most of our relationship, we were that couple, devoted partners in sync. We'd crack up over silly private jokes, bicker endlessly about movie choices, and had a rhythm that just clicked. She'd plan thoughtful date nights, and I'd surprise her with her favorite takeout after a tough day. It felt natural, like we'd cracked the code to love. So, when things shifted, it hit me like a freight train. About 6 months ago, the change began. At first, it was subtle things you'd overlook if you weren't paying close attention. She started keeping her phone glued to her side, even for a quick trip to the bathroom or while doing chores. Before, her phone would lie untouched on the counter for hours, and she didn't care who glanced at it. One day, I teased, "What, you running a covert operation now?" She laughed it off, saying, "Work's been texting me nonstop." Fair enough. But then a few days later, she added a passcode that threw me off because she'd never bothered with one before. When I casually asked why, she mumbled something about privacy and cyber threats. I didn't push, not wanting to seem paranoid, but it felt odd. And it didn't stop there. She started stepping out of the room to take calls, something she'd never done. It wasn't discreet, either. Her phone would buzz, and she'd say, "Oh, I'll just take this quick," before vanishing to the bedroom or out to the patio. When I asked who it was, she'd brush it off with, "Just a work pal." Then I noticed another quirk. She'd place her phone face down on the table. I didn't even know that was a red flag until I reached for something near her, and she swiftly slid her phone away. It was a fleeting moment, but it stuck with me, increasing the distance between us. But it wasn't just the phone. She started feeling detached. Our easygoing chats now felt like a chore. When I mentioned future plans like where to go for our anniversary or saving for a new car, she'd give a vague, "Yeah, we'll figure it out," and change the topic. It all crystallized one day when she said she was grabbing coffee with a friend. I happened to be nearby running errands, so I thought, why not surprise her? It'll be sweet. But when I got there, she wasn't with a friend. She was pacing outside the cafe, phone to her ear, looking intense. I stayed in my car, sensing something serious. I didn't mean to overhear, but I caught snippets like, "It's nearly set," and "a fresh start." Soon, my heart sank. I couldn't piece it together, but it didn't sound like a work issue or a friend's drama. It felt bigger, like a plan she was orchestrating. When she got home, I asked how her coffee date went, keeping my tone light. She spun a detailed tale about her friend venting about a bad relationship. Her story was so smooth, I just stared for a moment. Then, out of nowhere, she brought up consolidating our finances. "We should organize everything in one place," she said. "You know, accounts, passwords, documents for emergencies." I blinked. "What kind of emergencies?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She shrugged. "Just in case. What if something happens to one of us, or we need to make a big financial move fast?" Her reasoning sounded logical, but her delivery felt off, too practiced, too perfect. I nodded, saying, "Sure, makes sense," but inside, my instinct screamed, "Why now? Why this sudden push to streamline our money when we'd always kept things separate and relaxed?" That night, I replayed her words, trying to decode them. The phone secrecy, the cafe conversation, her growing distance, it was adding up, and I didn't like the picture. Still, I held off acting. A few days later, she brought it up again. We were in the kitchen, I was fixing a snack, and she was scrolling on her phone when she said, "Have you thought about sorting out the bank stuff? Like, do you know where all our account info is?" I set down my knife and turned to her. "Okay, what's going on?" I asked, keeping my voice steady but firm. "You've been fixated on our finances lately. Is there something we need to discuss?" She looked up, startled that I'd called her out. "No, nothing's wrong," she said quickly, forcing a laugh. "I just think it's smart, you know, for emergencies." "Emergencies like what?" I pressed. She shrugged, her face unreadable. "I don't know, just life. It's not a big deal, I swear." Her answer was too slippery, too evasive. I nodded and dropped it, but her dodging only fueled my unease. It didn't feel like a casual suggestion anymore, it felt like she was hiding something, and I didn't know what. So the next day, while she was at work, I checked our finances. Logging into our joint account, I found something odd. Over the past month, small transfers had been made. Nothing huge, but sums that didn't tie to bills or regular expenses. I didn't want to overreact, but it looked like she was quietly moving money for some purpose I couldn't pin down. I thought about confronting her, but held back. If I was wrong, I'd look foolish. If I was right, I needed to be cautious. It gnawed at me, so I called a trusted friend from college who is also a lawyer. I laid out what I'd noticed, trying not to sound like a tinfoil hat wearer. "I'm not saying something's definitely up," he said, "but you're not crazy for wanting to protect yourself. If you're worried, act now, better safe than sorry." He outlined simple steps to shield my finances if things went south. Taking such measures felt extreme. It was like preparing for a disaster I wasn't sure was coming, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. If she was planning something and I was starting to believe she was, I had to protect myself. It wasn't an easy call. This wasn't just about money, it was about the life we'd built. I kept flashing back to our wedding, late night talks about our future, and the quirky inside jokes we shared. How did we end up here? Was this what our marriage had become? Taking these steps felt like admitting the trust we'd built was gone. That night, while she was out, I opened my laptop, hands trembling. I pulled up our accounts, bank, investments, property deeds. Each document I reviewed felt like a betrayal, but a voice in my head insisted this was about survival, not sabotage. I wasn't trying to hurt her, I just couldn't shake the feeling that I'd regret it if I didn't act. I listed everything I could transfer, and how to do it discreetly. As I worked, guilt and resolve battled inside me. I'd trusted her completely for years, and now I was playing defense against the person I thought would always be my partner. Then I called my mom, keeping it vague. I need you to hold some things for me, I said. It's not bad, just a precaution. She paused, sensing what I wasn't saying. Are you okay? Her voice was thick with worry. Yeah, I lied, just being careful.